White Hat hackers have developed an AI tool that can automatically hack into websites, and with a surprisingly high success rate. Also in your Hacking News Roundup, a hacked North Korean server reveals Kim's latest money-making scheme, and Ring has been ordered to pay millions of dollars in compensation after spying on their customers. But first, AI has come a long way since a Google engineer created trippy variations of the Mona Lisa back in 2015. Since then, AI has conquered images, text, and video isn't far off. But the prediction of noobs wielding AI cyber weapons to hack the planet hasn't yet happened. But could that be about to change? New research shows how GPT-4 can be used to autonomously hack into servers, and with a pretty high success rate. This was achieved using LLM agents. An LLM agent makes it possible for a text-based AI to escape its text box prison and perform actual tasks by interacting with external tools. A basic example of this that you can play around with is called Agent GPT. You can give it a task like buy $10 worth of Monero, and then it'll break down this high-level task into multiple subtasks and try to solve those. The only external tool that Agent GPT has at its disposal is a web search, so it'll search the web, and at each step it'll consider the new information it's learned and think about what to do next before embarking on its updated objectives. In this case, Agent GPT can only perform Google searches. It doesn't actually have the ability to create an account on an exchange and send real money, so despite coming up with a plan, it eventually just shuts down. However, in the case of the new research, not only was the agent capable of browsing the web, it was also given the ability to create and edit files, and of course it was given access to a terminal and code interpreter. Once set up, the agent was simply told to hack a certain website using a particular vulnerability, and the AI would then reference the vulnerability's advisory, reading its description and references, before autonomously using all the tools at its disposal to learn more about how to exploit the vulnerability before actually hacking the website. The researchers tested 15 different vulnerabilities, but for the most part, the results were awful. Of the variety of LLMs tested, all had a 0% success rate, except one, GPT-4, which was successful in 40% of cases. But if you let the agent have 5 attempts, that increased to 86.7%. This is pretty scary, because the AI was only given the vulnerabilities advisory as a starting point, which is completely public and only contains a short description of the vulnerability and a handful of references. This was all GPT-4 needed to go and autonomously figure the rest out. So could we now be looking at the possibility of hordes of script kiddies wielding AI tools that can exploit vulnerabilities with only access to GPT-4? No, at least not yet. Luckily, there are a few complicating factors. For example, GPT-4 costs money, and LLM agents need to perform a lot of queries. The researchers calculated that just one vulnerability would cost $8.80 worth of OpenAI credits to exploit. When you combine that with the fact that, at the request of OpenAI, the researchers haven't disclosed the prompts they used, you're looking at spending a lot of money in trial and error before you actually develop something that kinda works. There's also been criticism of the vulnerabilities that the researchers chose to test. They only tested 15, and many of these vulnerabilities are very low level and easy to exploit, so it isn't much of a representative sample. But if you did click on this video hoping to find some tool that would turn you into elite hacksaw, I have something far better. Why rely on script kiddie tools when you can learn from the pros and actually pick up real, respectable skills? Well, you're in luck, because this video is sponsored by TCM Security Academy, which can help you prepare for a career in ethical hacking. Founded by fellow YouTuber The Cyber Mentor, they offer over 20 courses, all taught by industry experts, including privilege escalation for Windows and Linux, IoT hacking, practical web hacking, and their highly regarded OSINT course. There's a hell of a lot here. And rather than paying hundreds of dollars for just a single course, a TCM subscription gives you access to their entire library, all for less than $1 a day. And even better, new course content is added all the time. With over 200,000 students in 195 countries, TCM Security Academy is committed to providing affordable and practical cybersecurity education to students all over the world. Start your journey today using the link in the description and get 50% off your first month with code SATANIC50. A misconfigured cloud server hosted on a North Korean IP address has seemingly exposed Kim's latest money-making plot. What could it be? Another crypto hack? Perhaps they're shipping more IT workers overseas? Or maybe North Korea has restarted their currency counterfeiting operations? Nope. It seems animating TV shows is their latest money-making scheme. The researchers who discovered the server found it contained numerous files detailing ongoing animation work for Season 3 of Amazon's Invincible, HBO's Ianu Child of Wonder, the anime Dahlia in Bloom, and even files for a BBC children's cartoon Octonauts were found. Each day, a new batch of files would appear on the server, which included instructions for animation work, as well as the results of that day's work. Often the files had comments written in Chinese and a Korean translation underneath, suggesting that a middleman was relaying information between the production companies and the North Korean animators. The North Korean company that the researchers suspect is behind the server is called Sec Studio, and in the early 2000s, they worked on a whole variety of international animation projects totally legitimately. But that all changed in 2016 when the company was hit with sanctions, and so these new findings have the potential to get the production companies in a decent bit of trouble. However, it should be noted that there's nothing at all to suggest that the production companies even knew about this. The animation work was likely subcontracted out through multiple companies before finally landing in the hands of the North Korean animators. Thanks to being what is probably the most sanctioned country on Earth, North Korea has to get creative with how they bring in revenue, and often this means complete outright crimes, like the crypto hacks we see that bring in hundreds of millions if not billions of dollars for Kim's regime. But often the country sets up companies to engage in otherwise legitimate work. For example, they're well known for sending their citizens to China to do generic IT work, or even just work in restaurants. But as for that server, researchers at Mandiant were enlisted to analyse the server's logs. They found that some of the IPs used to access it are registered in Liaoning Province, China. Bordering North Korea, this province is known to harbour many North Korean operated businesses. So yeah, it seems animation work is the latest thing to add to the list of North Korean operated enterprises. The cloud server hosting the files was initially discovered by the author of the North Korean Internet blog, which provides a whole running commentary of North Korea's internet-based operations. I'll make sure to leave a link to them in the description. America's Federal Trade Commission has finally concluded the insanely creepy case of Ring security cameras being exploited by Ring employees to spy on customers. $5.6 million is being distributed in compensation, so if you bought a Ring camera a few years back, you could be in for a bit of a payout. But how did we get here? Last year, the FTC unveiled allegations that Ring, the Amazon subsidiary that we all know for their extensive line of IoT security cameras, made all their customers' camera feeds totally accessible to all Ring employees and even some third-party contractors. It sounds like an unbelievable claim, but this is exactly what the FTC alleged. And not only did employees have access to camera feeds, but they were also given tools to search those feeds by the name of the camera that the customer gave it, and even by a customer's email address. And to make matters worse, Ring kept limited to no logs of the camera feeds that were spied on and by who. This created the perfect environment for creeps working at Ring to do, well, creeping. In one example, an employee searched for cameras with names suggesting that they were placed in sensitive places like bedrooms. This employee often spent over an hour a day sitting at his desk creeping on dozens of female Ring owners. And the ability to search by a customer's email address was also abused. In one case, a Ring employee looked up a female colleague's email address and creeped on her camera, totally without her knowledge. And thanks to the limited logs kept by Ring, we have next to no idea about how deep this problem went. The handful of examples that we do know about were only uncovered because another employee just so happened to stumble across their colleague's creepy behaviour by mere coincidence. Ring's terms of service did mention that recordings would be used for product improvement and development, but not that any and all Ring employees would be able to spy on them at will. Most of this happened before Ring was acquired by Amazon. However, a different section of the FTC's complaint, which totally happened under the rule of Bezos, regards how Ring failed to even offer multi-factor authentication as an option. This made it easy for hackers to break into Ring accounts en masse with techniques like credential stuffing. This led to its own scandal, with hackers dumping large amounts of Ring credentials online for the lulz, which degenerates would then use to terrorize the camera's owner. To atone for their sins, Ring has been ordered to pay $5.6 million to 117,000 customers, meaning each affected person receiving less than $50. Not much compared to the $1 billion that Amazon paid to acquire the company in 2018. But to me, one of the strangest things about the payout is that the FTC is distributing the money via PayPal. I've seen reports of people thinking the email they received, claiming to be the government wanting to send them $50 via PayPal, is just some scam, which is totally understandable. But $50 is $50, so if you bought a Ring camera a few years back, it's worth checking your email ASAP, because you only have 30 days to claim your coins. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.